Yo, still Mills, what's the deal, man? Yo, it's fucking Friday, my nigga. All praises. I'm going bang this day out and get the fuck home, man, so I can begin my weekend, man. We got some big fights coming up this weekend, so let's get into that shit. Pete gang. We got to get into this Tszyu versus Brian Mendoza shit. I think that's gonna be that's gonna be a certified banger right there, man. I went and did some more film study last night on the two of them, man. Man, I feel like Brian Mendoza has a style that can give Tszyu some fits with his feet. He's real good on his feet, man. He's real good, real fleet foot, really fleet footed. He can keep you off balance. He's a good counter puncher. He can, not just create distance and space between him and the fighter, but he can actually maintain that distance by, you know what I'm saying, jabbing off of the pivots and shit like that, and jabbing off the back, taking half steps back off the jab and all that, man. But I just feel like he does that early on in the fight, and he can't sustain it. He can't sustain it, man, and that's why I can't give him I can't give him the edge in this fight. I think it's gonna up it to. I think we gonna get the Brian Mendoza, a better version of Brian Mendoza that we got against Tszyu and even Jose Ramos. But I just think eventually, as the fight progresses, he's going to fade because he seems, he does that for the first half of the fight, and then by the time you get to the mid rounds, he's a lot more stationary. And if he's not stationary, he's creating distance off. He's creating space between him and him and the opponent, but he's not throwing as much as he was early on in the early rounds. You can't afford to do that with Tszyu, man. And Tszyu is a really good body puncher. he's a really good body puncher. Both of them are good counter punchers. Both of them, they got really good shot selection, really good um, placement on the shots, man. One thing about Tim though, I think the early rounds, Brian Mendoza, I think he's gonna squeak out those early rounds because like with Tim Zoo just kind of like plots forward, man. Just it's no pizzazz in his forward in his aggression. He's just plotting forward and plotting forward and plotting forward and plotting forward, and it works. Like I ain't throwing shade or nothing like that. It definitely works. It's effective, but I think Tszyu, I think Brian Mendoza early on in the fight is going to be able to keep him off balance because Tszyu just doesn't like he cuts off the ring well, but I don't know what it is with his feet. He'll close distance and then he'll pose there in front of you or whatever because he's a counter puncher. You dig? He wants you to get the commit to throwing that straight so he can roll it and come back with that that counter uppercut. He does that, and I think that's his most effective counter shot. But I think it's just he's not as fast on his feet. I think his feet is similar to like someone like a Canelo, where they're not fast on their feet. They're intelligent enough on their feet to where they can put themselves in punching position, but it's not enough to shit. It's not shifty. It's not keeping you off balance. You dig? He's not spinning out in the clinch. He's not doing none of that shit. You dig? He's fast enough on his feet to take the step forward and get out of the pocket. You dig? It's no more bells and whistles where he can spin you and cut those angles and shit like that. That's not Tszyu, but it is Brian Mendoza, especially early on in the fight, and that's when it's most effective, keeping his opponent off balance. And I think he's gonna do that for the first half of the fight. He's going to do that for the first half of the fight. I don't think if Tszyu goes in there and gets rid of him, it's not going to be in the first round like he did Ocampo. It's not going to be like that. It may be like he did with Tony Harrison. And then, you also got to take into consideration who he's been in there with. Fundora couldn't get rid of him or let alone drop him. Ramos couldn't get rid of him, let alone drop him. Jason Rosario couldn't get rid of him, let alone drop him. You dig? I do think Tszyu is a little bit more progressed than all of them cats. I do. I think he's a little bit more progressed. Just due to activity alone, I think he's a little bit more progressed. But I don't think he's going to go in there and just outline this dude in chalk in a round or two or even at the midway points. At the very least, if he goes in there and he steps on this dude, he'll do it like he did with Tony Harrison. But I think he'll have actually not. Yeah, Tony Harrison, and even with Tony Harrison was able to give him problems off of the jab, man. Like a lot of those jabs were splitting the guard, man. Brian Mendoza, how he throws the jab is always off of angles. He's moving. He's in motion. He's shifty with the jab. He's shifty with the jab. He shoots the jab real well off of those, off of those angles, man. He's really good at that, and I think that's going to present problems for Tszyu. I don't think he's gonna. He's not going to plant his feet till mid fight, or at least rounds 4 or 5. Because I think he's gonna know that, all right, cool, I'm in your hood. This dude really ain't got his lights on. Like, all right, cool, I'm in your hood. I can't win a decision like this. So let me I'm gonna have to earn your respect. And that's another thing. Tszyu he's gonna force you to earn his respect. He's gonna force you to do that. So if you don't lay down on him to really, what I'm saying, hold this momentum, he's gonna plow you. And I do think I do think that's how the fight is going to go. Mendoza will control the early rounds, at least the first 3 or 4, because of his movement. After that, Tszyu is going to start to get a little bit more understanding of his patterns. He's going to start placing that left hook to the body. And he's going to start timing him. He's going to start timing that right straight, and he's going to roll it, and he's going to launch that that counter uppercut. He's going to do that. He's going to start to do that around about, be a lot more effective with it around about rounds 4 and 5, I think. I definitely think that. I think Mendoza's going to gain more momentum in the mid rounds as well with keeping that jab in his face. Not the mid rounds, but the early rounds. The early rounds. He's going to keep that jab in his face. He's going to keep, he's going to shift. He's going to continue to be shifty. Light on his feet. Pop the jab, and it's going to work. Till Tszyu starts getting to the side of it and planting that left hook in the liver. And throwing that uppercut, man. And the minute he starts planting his feet, the minute Brian Mendoza starts planting his feet, is going to get disastrous. And that's when I think Tszyu is going to take over. And I don't know if it's a stoppage or if it's just a 12-round decision. But I think we are gonna get the best version of Brian Mendoza. This is his first championship bout. Oh yeah, he's worked hard to get here. Jason Rosario, Ramos, Fundora. Now I'm here, and you think I'm about to fuck this off? Nah, you beat me, you gonna have to fuck me up. And I think we're gonna get the best version of him and Tszyu. Knowing I don't know if he was elevated to WBO champion or if he's fighting for the vacant strap, but this is his moment. And he's still chasing Charlo as well. So we're gonna get a firefight. We're gonna get a firefight. It's gonna be a balling ass fight. I'm way more excited about this fight than I am the Johnny Beck fight. I fuck with Johnny Beck. But this fight right here is a testament. Like, these are 2 top level contenders within their division. Even though Gualtieri, however you pronounce his name, is a champion, nobody was expecting him to beat Falcao, but he beat Falcao. And now he's a champion, and they're going into a unification bout. That's about to be heat too, but this fight right here is the fight of the weekend, if you ask me, with Mendoza and Tszyu. And that's the fight that I'm most excited about. I don't even give a fuck who wins, honestly, man. I don't. I don't care if it's a draw. I don't care if it's a draw, we get a rematch. I just think we're going to get a real good fight, man. Both of these dudes are coming off really spectacular performances. Brian Mendoza, he didn't. I think he fought Jason Rosario late last year, and he knocked out Fundora. He knocked out Fundora earlier this year. Tszyu beat the shit out of Tony Harrison and just dismantled Carlos Ocampo in a minute and a half. He just went in there and just imposed his will on that dude. he just bro. That shit was like, damn, he violated that man. So they're both at a fever, they're at fever pitch as far as coming into this fight with momentum, and it's a pick 'em fight. It's definitely a pick 'em fight. I just got to go with Tszyu. I got to go with Tszyu, even though I think Mendoza has been in there with the better opposition in the now, because I don't, Tszyu's fought, Terrell Gausha, he's a little bit older. Tony Harrison, he's a little bit older. Carlos Ocampo, he's he got stopped by Spence and then he lost to Fundora or whatever. I don't want to say he's past it. I don't think he's past it. But I don't think, he's clearly not as good as Mendoza. Mendoza's been in there with Ramos. Mendoza's been in there with Rosario and Fundora. Like, I think he's fought the fresher opponents. Only losing to to Jesus Ramos. Only losing to him. I think he's fought the fresher of opponents. But I do think that truck loud as shit. I do think Tszyu is just I think with his style, I think he has the base style that's gonna give Mendoza a lot of issues, man. So I'm going with Tszyu. I don't know by knockout, I don't know by decision, but I definitely got Tszyu in this fight. I could be wrong though. I don't know nothing. I'm just excited to see this fight, man. You dig? So that's how the fuck I'm feeling about it, man. I'll try and do a breakdown on Johnny Beck versus Guattieri. I'll try to do that, today or tomorrow. But I had to cook on that Tszyu versus Mendoza. You dig? So that's how I'm feeling about it, man. Y'all let me know what the fuck y'all think the twos and fews that fuck with me. I'm outie, man. Deuces.